In today's video, we will be recapping Dawson's Creek Season 1, Episode 4, titled Discovery. Dawson is watching the Jen scenes of his swamp creature film, and dreamily tells Joey how gorgeous and perfect his new girlfriend is. But Joey makes a face and says she doesn't think Jen is all that, and that she can predict her boring future just by looking at her exterior, saying that she will attend a small liberal arts college, marry a rich blonde trader, and have 3 kids. Dawson jokingly calls her Nostradamus, then changes the subject to his parents' 20th anniversary and asks her if she has any gift ideas. Joey is about to make a suggestion, just as Tamara suddenly appears in the movie footage, engaging in a sex act with an unseen male. Dawson says he didn't film this, and the two scratch their heads, wondering who is getting it on with the Cape Side High English teacher. The next day at the Ice House restaurant, Dawson and Joey tell Pacey and Jen about the Tamara sex footage that Dawson unwittingly caught on camera after he left it rolling. An alarmed-looking Pacey scrunches his face and asks if the guy is visible in the footage, but Dawson says the camera didn't capture his face. Pacey then says he very urgently needs to get a look at the videotape as soon as possible. Dawson and Jen walk home hand in hand. When they arrive in front of her house, he leans in to kiss her, but she stops him when she sees her grandmother nosily peeking out the front window and tells him he's going to have to hold his desire for a later time. A few seconds later, she gives in and defiantly smooches him in front of an appalled Grams. Grams asks Jen if she does these things to upset her, then reminds her that her parents shipped her from New York to Cape Side with a one-way ticket because of her unacceptable bad girl behavior. Jen rolls her eyes and says she's tired of them having the same conversation over and over. She points out that her and Dawson were merely kissing, then pours herself a glass of milk before exiting the room. Dawson enters his bedroom and finds a frantic Pacey going through his boxes of videotapes, tells him to stop messing up his dailies. Pacey tells him he needs to have the footage right away. Dawson tells him to relax, retrieves the tape from a box near the door, and hands it to him. Pacey clutches it and starts rambling about what a loser he knows everyone at school thinks he is, before saying, "I got the girl this time." Dawson says, "What girl?" Pacey continues before confessing that he's the unseen male. He adds that he doesn't want the secret getting out. Not only would it be mortifying to be on full display for all to see, but it could also be career-ending for Tamara. Pacey asks Dawson if it looked like he was cutting it performance-wise, and Dawson says it looked like he was doing just fine, and promises to keep the secret to himself. Later on, Dawson takes Joey along for a shopping trip in downtown Cape Side to help him pick something out for his parents' anniversary gift. Dawson glances around the store and notices his mother helping Bob try on sports jackets in the shop next door. He goes over to say hey and doesn't notice how startled his mom is to see him there. Joey is not happy about this, but his mom introduces the two of them to Bob. After some pleasant chit-chat, Mrs. Leary and Bob rush back to the news studio, and the clueless Dawson tells Joey that the guy seems like a really nice person. Jen tells Grams she's going out with Dawson tonight, and Grams makes a face. She says he probably only wants one thing from her, and it's evident by the sight of Joey always climbing in and out of his bedroom every night. Jen breezily says that the two are just friends, and that somehow she's starting to develop real feelings for Dawson. Pacey sees Tamara sitting at an outdoor cafe and walks across the street to join her. When she tells him she's currently trying to decide which book to select as assigned reading for her next English class, Pacey suggests something with a lot of sex, and insists that it is possible for 2 people to sleep together and for things to work out fine. Tamara thinks it over and asks him if it really is possible. He answers by placing his hand over hers, but after a few seconds, she pulls away before anyone passing by happened to notice. Dawson shows Jen some of the scenes from his swamp creature movie, which is still in progress, and she's happy for him about how well it's coming along. He tells her that tomorrow he has plans to do some sound editing at the new station where his mom works, and invites her along. Then remarks that in the old days, movie censors used to make actors keep one foot on the door during scenes. He gives her a kiss that quickly gets intense, and she gently shoves him away and tells him they have plenty of time to allow their kissing to get more advanced. At the news station studio the next day, Dawson is getting help in the control room from one of the video editors as Jen dubs over her screams for one of the swamp creature scenes. When Jen looks weirded out, Dawson suggests that they take a break and the two head over to the hall to get a soda from the vending machine. Soon after, Dawson's mom, Mrs. Leary, and Bob appear in the nearby hall and enjoy an intense kiss. Dawson's eyes widen in horror at the disturbing spectacle. Jen accompanies Dawson to a nearby park, where he sits on a bench and stares into space. Jen does her best to comfort him and says that whenever he's ready to share his feelings, she's here for him. Later on, Dawson heads over to Joey's place to dish about his mom's infidelity. When she admits that she found out about what was going on for a while, but figured he would eventually caught on to it, Dawson gets angry at her for keeping the secret to herself. He accuses her of disengaging their friendship and bitterly tells her goodbye and have a nice life. Downtown, Pacey sees Tamara at the outdoor cafe, enjoying the company of another man, and makes his face disapprovingly. Dawson runs into his mom when she arrives home from work. She asks if everything's okay, but he refuses to answer and goes next door to talk to Jen. When Grams opens the door, Dawson acknowledges that it's obvious she dislikes him, then assures her that he's not a sex-crazed teen who's trying to corrupt her granddaughter, but rather someone who's in desperate need of a friendly ear. Dawson and Jen wander around outside while he expresses his feelings about his mom's affair. Jen admits that she felt hurt when he immediately rushed over to Joey's place to pour his heart out, then says that secrets destroy relationships and that she no longer wants any secrets between them. To that end, she confesses about the real reason her parents sent her to Capeside. Jen confirms that she's the opposite of a virgin. She has a past of drinking and being sexually active. Dawson pretends he's not freaked out by her admission, but can barely bring himself to hold her hand. The next day at school, Pacey walks past Tamara's classroom and looks annoyed when he sees her flirting with the guy he saw her with the day before. Meanwhile, in the hallway, Jen runs into Dawson and suggests they catch a movie later, but he declines and pretends to be way too busy with homework and promises to call her later. Pacey returns to Tamara's classroom when she's alone and admonishes her for flirting with another man. He challenges her to be honest with him if she's sleeping with both of them, then demands to know who she likes better, him or the older guy. Tamara rolls her eyes and assures Pacey that she's not his type, and by type she means female. Pacey happily realizes that the guy is gay. She tells him to be quiet and makes him promise to keep it a secret. Jen asks Dawson if he's truly okay with her earlier confession, and he pretends he's totally fine. A skeptical Jen calls him out on the not-so-subtle way he's been avoiding her at school and asks him to be honest with her if he's repulsed by her promiscuous past, and instead of giving her a straight answer, he storms off. Dawson complains to Pacey that he can't help it being judgy about Jen's promiscuous past, and Pacey encourages him to instead think of it as an in to finally get the opportunity to have sex. When Dawson says that he much prefers romance to sex, Pacey tells him that the Jen he's put on a pedestal doesn't actually exist and that he should embrace his girlfriend's sexual freedom. Dawson says he can't do that and grumbles about the undesired plot twists of his life, which includes his parents' marriage falling apart. Mitch is getting dressed up for his anniversary dinner when Dawson enters the room and says he needs to speak to him. Before Dawson has a chance to share on his unfaithful mother, she walks into the room all dressed up, and the happy couple heads out for their celebratory dinner. Jen stops by the ice house after hours to ask Joey for advice on Dawson. Joey tells her that Dawson's sex life is non-existent, and that he's only capable of seeing anything sex-related as black and white. When Jen asks her if she's trying to scare her off of Dawson, Joey assures her she's not, but then she points out that most good men were probably dorks as teenagers, and blushingly adds she'd patiently wait for however long it took. Pacey is over at Tamara's place, sitting on her bed reading a magazine while she grades papers. He then asks her approximately how old she is and how many men she slept with. She claims to be around 35. She says there was one high school boy she hooked up with and a couple of fully grown men, then blushingly adds that by high school boy, she's referring to him. Pacey responds with a happy grin on his face. Meanwhile, Jen talks to her comatose grandfather that Dawson has clearly written her off as a thought. While Dawson is moping at the harbor, Joey comes over to report that Jen stopped by the ice house to get some insight on his judgy attitude about her sex-filled past. But Dawson immediately shuts her down and says he doesn't want to talk about Jen with her. He questions whether they're even friends anymore because they don't get along the way they used to, and Joey counters that lately he's been getting mad at her too often and too easily. And when he responds that she's too critical of him, the two pause for a moment and chuckle at the back and forth. He jokes that they were probably married for 50 years in an alternate universe. She tells him she is sure she had a great time at their fictional alternative universe wedding, and wanders off as Dawson continues to stare at the water. That's it for today's recap. Don't forget to like this video, share your comments below, and subscribe. Thank you for watching, and I'll see you in the next video.